Speaking of music, from the outside looking in, you would never have guessed that singer-songwriter Anthony Evans Jr. struggled with depression. Up next, Anthony shares his journey with this depression, which he chronicles in his new book, When Faith Meets Therapy.
Hey, I'm Anthony Evans. I am a worship leader, an author, and a producer from Dallas, Texas, but I go back and forth between Dallas and Los Angeles. I'm also a preacher's kid, which some of you may know. My dad, his name is Dr. Tony Evans. For me, it was hard for me, and it wasn't just because my parents were pastors. It was the pressure that came along with being that, or a lot of it hard for me because I would hear people say, you know, oh my gosh, you're Tony Evans Jr. Are you gonna be just like your dad? People would say that to me all the time, and they just thought they were saying something fun in passing. And they had no idea. It felt like they were giving me a cinder block to hold while I was treading water. I spent most of my younger years, most of my childhood, hurting internally while projecting that I was okay to my family and my close friends. That is what made being a preacher's kid a little bit hard for me, and then how I was built. I'm a very emotional person, but as a kid, I didn't understand these floods of emotions that I would have all the time, and I didn't know how to deal with them, so I would internalize them. Growing up, it was kind of like, have you prayed about it? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, what do you mean? Have you read this verse? Have you? And the thought of adding anything to that, to prayer and reading God's word, is like, almost came off like blasphemous to think that you could get additional help. Like reading the verse, be anxious for nothing, that's amazing. I need practical tools on how to be anxious for nothing. So that's what held me back, was thinking maybe there's something wrong with my spiritual life. One time being on stage, having just gone through a broken engagement, the next day I had to go get on a stage and sing about the faithfulness of God. When I tell you, I got on that stage and felt like a lunatic. Standing up there at that point, singing, you know, everlasting God, or, you know, faith will rise as we wait upon the Lord, and me thinking, what? That's what I thought in my head. So in between songs, I started telling this audience all my business. I mean, I'm sure at some point they were like, we just came to worship, like stop telling us all this, it's too much. But I was broken, and autopilot was no longer gonna work. It was not going to work. There was going to be a crash if I did not address it. So I remember walking off that stage and going and sitting with my father and being like, I gotta do something here, because this is no longer gonna work for me. When I met my current therapist, Stacey Kaiser, at this point I was such in a desperate place to find a therapist. What really got me on the road to recovery was a meeting with Stacey, and she goes, wait, hold it. And I was like, what happened? She just stopped the session, stopped all the kind of clinical stuff, and she goes, okay, hold it. I just want you to know that sitting here from you, I have done this for however many years, over 20 years, and I feel like I'm supposed to tell you that pastor would have told me that, I would have been like, yeah, of course. I mean, I know, God's covering. But for her to tell me that, it was different. And that's what started my true road to healing, because for some reason, I believe that while you're in the mess, God's not with you. Let's get yourself together and then God will be with you. And she stopped that session to say, no. God's with you in this. And he wants to walk each step with you as you get yourself together. Super freeing. Absolutely. That changed everything.